So if you're planning on using the brand new Fable 5 model, you have to remember that with great power comes great responsibility and an even greater amount of token burn. So this video isn't designed to walk you through a series of benchmarks because I'm sure you've seen enough of those already and you're bored of it. It is designed, however, to show you when and where it makes sense to take advantage of such a brand new, powerful level of intelligence. Because this model not only marks a shift into a brand new family of models for Anthropic, but also gives you a glimpse into what the new world of tokenomics might look like. And now that we're in this territory, it's not as easy anymore as just switching to the brand new latest model, going on max mode and calling it a day. It's about learning when and where it makes sense to use different tiers of such a potent but eye-wateringly expensive model so you can actually use it in your day-to-day workflows. Because the average person will run out of credits by the time they say good morning to Fable, and you don't want to be in that position unnecessarily. So if you watch this video till the very end, I promise you'll get a very nuanced take on where to use different tiers of effort for things like Fable, Opus, and how to use them all in unison. So if you want to be ahead of the pack, then let's dive in. Now, what I'm about to show you is the real trap of going all in with this model and just spending all your time building with it, assuming you even have enough credits to do so. So you have up until June 22nd to push this model using your existing subscription before it becomes metered, meaning you have to pay for additional access via API. So if you start getting addicted to this level of intelligence and using it for everything from building specs to building apps to answering a question on what you should have for lunch today, you're not going to be having a good time. And knowing that Anthropic is planning on IPOing this year, I pay very close attention to sentences like this, where it says, if capacity allows, will they bring the Fable model back into the subscription that you'll be paying every month? Because for now, a flat rate combined with a resetting of limits leads you down a path where you get so used to this new standard of output that you don't want to give it up. So the goal is to supercharge your productivity, not to get you addicted to a brand new model. Now, within a few hours of the model releasing, a team allegedly extracted the entire system prompt from Fable 5. So what I did is I spun up a brand new session using Fable, and I took this system prompt that apparently comes from the model and compared it to the 4.8 Opus version to look for where they differ and where they have very similar qualities. Because theoretically, if we were to reach this AGI level model, you would need less of a system prompt, not more, because a lot of those instructions should be baked in or synthesized or learned during the training process. But when you take a look at the Fable 5 system prompt, it's still the entire length of Harry Potter or The Hobbit. So this tells me that it is better, but it still needs a lot of hand-holding. And when you compare it to Opus 4.8, around 80% of the system prompt is still pretty much the same. So despite it being apparently way smarter than Opus 4.8, again, 80% of the documents are pretty much the same. The 5 new rules that are in Fable are really around life sciences, self-harm, and preventing that. And interestingly, it has more explicit instructions to prevent self-harm and find different nuanced ways that people are trying to bypass those specific restrictions. So assuming that the system prompt is legit, these are examples of explicit additions to the Fable system prompt. And all of them, like I said, revolve around things like self-harm, lookalikes, naming a diagnosis, crisis management, disorders, etc. And things that it's removed are things around using filler words like genuinely, honestly, actually. So when I see those being removed, that tells me maybe the model has now been trained to smooth out that kink or that habit from the core model itself. So when it comes to raw competency leaps for things like coding, that's where these improvements happen within the model itself. But I noticed that for things like behavior, those are things that are harder to adjust over time. And based on reading the model card, this model seems to be identical to Mythos, except it has a very hard line on safeguards, where every single request that passes through this specific API looks through, is this a cybersecurity question, a life sciences question, a health question? And if so, it automatically downgrades your model from Fable to Opus 4.8. So if it already does that on its own, what can we learn from this exact behavior to voluntarily apply it to the way we work? In this case, if you have bulk work, you don't want to spend your token's time and money on Fable. You could use Fable to plan the approach, but actually execute all of those different tasks with cheaper models, with Opus 4.8, with Sonnet, with different tiers of effort, which again, most people don't play with. They just default to choosing the model, but not choosing the combination of the model with the level of effort necessary. Which leads us to the crux of the video, which is when and where do we use different tiers of effort, and where is the Goldilocks zone depending on the specific task you're trying to execute. Now, the average person will upgrade their Claude code and then use Fable on high mode by default, and then one-shot a website or two they don't actually need to see if it works, and then they'll lose all their credits for the week, if not the month. But you, however, could use something like Medium, because Medium actually beats Opus 4.8 on its max mode. So understanding the level of power difference will let you spend way less tokens to accomplish a much better result. And if you needed some heuristics or a cheat sheet on when to use different tiers of effort, if you're planning or you're in the final stages of shipping and deploying, it makes sense to use something like high or max mode on something like Fable. But when it comes to things like execution, you can not only use lower tiers of Fable, but you can offload those to Sonnet, to Opus, and even local models. Because based on where agentic engineering seems to be headed, we will have incredibly smart models in the future where you might use it for 1 or 2 prompts, finish your limit for the day or the week, and then actually do the core execution with lower level models using that provider or using your core local computer. So if you're going to have to adopt that habit then, why not build it now? And to reiterate this tactically, you would start something like Fable on max effort or high effort, whatever you could get away with at the lowest level, and then create a spec file or a plan file. And based on going back and forth to create a plan, sometimes I spend an hour, 2 hours purely just planning. Once I have that plan, you can then offload this to a lower model. All you'd have to do tactically in a session is go to your models, do /model in the middle of the conversation. Then instead of Fable, either you can go left or right to lower it to something like medium effort or low effort, and you'd be surprised. Fable on low is still a very competent model. Or you can change it to something like Sonnet on high effort or medium effort, or you can go to the default Opus. So depending on your workflow, it makes a lot more sense nowadays to switch models in the middle of a conversation. And if you want to close the loop using something like Fable, then after these models have ran and executed this plan, then you can push them, you can probe them and ask them, have you tested these different fringe cases? Have you looked for these tiers of edge cases? And then you can run Fable to look through all of the executed code or structure or document or whatever it is that you produced to look over it with this high tier model. And by the way, if you like the way that I break down these concepts and focus on the signal rather than all the noise and the hype, then you'll love everything we have in the early AI adopters community. I update our Claude Code Living course every single week, and we have tons of resources and coaches to help you with things like cybersecurity, monetizing AI, and practically teaching AI to businesses. So if that sounds interesting, check out the first thing down below, and maybe I'll see you inside. All right, back to the video. And to make this even more tactical, let's go through 3 different examples. So let's say we want to build a general marketing website, then a 3D website. So this needs more additional frameworks and dependencies, and then a CRM app. For the very first one, the marketing site, we could start with planning on high mode using Fable, and then we could execute it using Opus on medium, high, max, or Fable on medium. You have to use some judgment, some taste. Is this a really complicated task, or are you just generating a PowerPoint file? You probably don't need a nuclear bomb to generate a PowerPoint file. So using this judgment and being proactive will save you tons of time, money, and the ability to still use this model, even when it's metered very sparingly when it makes the most sense. And then if you want to fan out or spawn multiple sub-agents, each one of those sub-agents will use different lower level models. So you don't even have to worry about using Fable for those models. And then you can end off by running a verification step on Fable low mode, where it goes through, maybe it uses the Claude and Chrome MCP to open up a brand new browser, click around your website, take a look at the accessibility, the readability of the text, the overall look and feel, and then go through that agentic loop to self-improve itself. For a 3D website, because 3D websites use this framework called 3JS, which is a JavaScript framework, you would maybe use X-High for planning, or even Max on planning, depending on the complexity of it and how likely you want it to one-shot this entire website. Then when it comes to building, because again, it might be more complicated, you might even use a dynamic workflow. So you don't want to use Fable for a dynamic workflow, maybe use Opus 4.8, and then it spins out a series of Sonnet and Opus agents to help you take care of it. And then after this, when it comes to assembling all the different parts of the website, this might use some sub-agents as well. Then you could go through a verification step on high mode this time, because you want to verify that while you're not at your computer, this 3D rendered website still looks legitimate, looks clean, and looks exactly what your plan reflected. And last but not least, when it comes to a CRM has a lot of moving parts. You have different tabs, different endpoints, you have different security needs, you have different ways of inputting data and potentially exporting data. So that plan might need infinitely more love, and it makes more sense to use a Fable Max mode to produce said plan. And to build it, it might make sense to use the X High to fan out a series of workflows using dynamic workflows. Most likely, it won't use Fable for those sub-agents. It will use different tiered models. When it comes to verification again, it might make sense to still use a high-level model. So you can see here, depending on the use case, depending on the subsequent steps and sequential steps, you might want to use different tiers of intelligence using different models, and you can even use them from different providers. Because I also use Codex side by side with Opus using the plugin extension from OpenAI. So you can use a combination of Fable with Codex 5.5, 5.6, whatever comes out there. So you don't have to be tribal. You just have to be very efficient at understanding what is the right tool for the right job. So if you wanted to walk away from this video understanding a core possible workflow that you could execute, you could start with Fable 5 on either max or high mode, then go into planning, then orchestrate any of the execution with a series of agents that have access to things like skills, like additional agents, MCPs, command line interfaces. Then you could use something like Fable to execute a verification step. And then you can get to the verification stage, you ship it, and then you can go through this loop for different iterations, different features. But understanding this, even if the names change, which they will, if not by the end of today, maybe by the end of this month, the entire paradigm will persist. So when it comes to things like ultra code and dynamic workflows, today, this is the state of the art. But this entire snapshot is meant to be modular. So if we get something brand new that's infinitely better, this comes out and you swap that in. And the same thing here, when we inevitably get another literature-based named model like Soliloquy 6, then this will be the exact same paradigm. It will probably be eye-wateringly expensive. Especially, this will be post-IPO, it will be very expensive. So we will have to be very responsible as solo practitioners, as organizations, as entrepreneurs to use the right model at the right price for the right task. And to give you the TLDR of the TLDR, these are different scenarios where Fable 5, depending on the effort level, might be directionally equivalent to a certain tier of Opus. So Fable 5 on low could be very tied with Opus 4.8 Max. Medium would technically beat 4.8 Max. And then Fable 5 Max would completely eclipse Opus 4.8. Each model will naturally have its own different behavior. So something like Fable as of today still short circuits when I have any request that has anything related to cybersecurity, even if it's not the core goal or it's not malicious and it's completely above board. So depending on your workflow, I still don't see Fable as a daily driver model based on initial testing. Opus is more trusted for now, but using it and understanding the flow of when to use different effort levels will help you immensely. And to end off, it's important to remember that benchmarks don't matter. They can be doctored, they can be manufactured. They grab the headlines, but the only thing that matters are your results. So hopefully that gives you a good primer on how to use this Fable model responsibly. It's definitely an amazing model. I've already used it to one-shot all kinds of bugs that I've struggled with using existing models. So there's no question that it's amazing, but there is a huge question as to how long it would be sustainable to use it for your day-to-day tasks. And to help you solidify everything I walked you through, I made a cheat sheet guide of where and when to use these different effort levels in the second link down below. So feel free to grab that for free to help you with your next project. And as always, if you want to go infinitely deeper on things like Claude Code, agentic workflows, and how to use AI in general practically in enterprises and businesses, then check out the first link down below, and I'll maybe see you inside my early AI adopters community. And for the rest of you, if you found this to be a breath of fresh air from all the hype that's being pushed down your throat, then feel free to leave me a like, leave a comment, and I'll see you in the next one.